Fahrenheit?
That's ridiculous. That's yeah, no, it's starting to finally look like spring here, but yeah, certainly not 75 degrees here. Aiden Foley asks, any Tiger King? Have you watched Tiger King on Netflix?
I haven't got into that. It's been all talk over social media, and
Yeah.
two of my brothers have been watching it, and they've been pumping its tires as well. But I kind of got to get into it. I feel like I should start a new Netflix series since I have all this downtime. I've been
It's
thinking
worth
about
the
Ozark.
hype. You have to watch it to understand. It's a wild ride. Definitely worth the few hours.
Yeah, it's something like there's a conspiracy on whether this woman killed her husband, and there's a guy that
And
has
that's
a
just the B plot.
yeah.
You got to
I gotta
watch
get
this
into it.
thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, let's jump into some hockey questions. That's what you're best at. You certainly proved that this year. 73 points in 58 games played. That includes a scoring title for yourself, first team All-Star, and now most recently an MVP. Congratulations again. I want to ask you first, how did you find out about the good news that you were MVP? Was that a phone call? Did you have to see it on social media when it launched? Kind of how did you find out that you were on top of the ECHL?
Yeah, I actually, my head coach, Dan Watson, actually called me, I think maybe a week before the announcement. He kind of just wanted me to know, so I didn't see it as a shock, to see it on social media for the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he basically just called me, like I said, about a week before and said, hey, congratulations, you've won MVP. We're super happy as an organization for you, and it's well deserved. So it was pretty special to hear it coming from my coach for this year, and then to see it on social media, like I said, roughly a week later, it was pretty cool to see all the nice things people had to say.
No kidding. No, we certainly, and a lot of nice things coming from a lot of people here in Newfoundland. Certainly remember all your hard work here as well. And you guys in Toledo were having a great year, top to bottom. Kind of talk about the team you guys had. I mean, we talked off the air that neither one of us would be shocked if it was going to be Toledo and Newfoundland in the finals again. Unfortunately, we'll never know for sure, but just clearly things going well in Toledo. Kind of sum up that Walleye team this year.
Yeah, we started off hot. We had a lot of, I think everyone starts off really well just because everyone's healthy. To start the year, no, there's not injuries, no illnesses to battle. Um, but then we hit a little bit of I wouldn't say a rough patch, but we won a couple games where we lost our stride. We were kind of guessing at lineups and trying to figure out lines and chemistry and all that. But towards the last, I'd say, month or so, we really seemed to find our niche, our click, and I got paired with two of the best passers in the league, arguably, Birchback and Winquist, and we just seemed to gel really well, and we seemed to find each other all over the ice, and it led to team success. And I think as a whole, I think we ended up taking our division before this pandemic hit, unfortunately. But like you said, there's a lot of things that we'd like to see in the future. How the conference and Kelly Cup finals would go, and like you said, when we talked off the air, it would have been pretty cool to see a rematch of the Kelly Cup Finals again.
No kidding. Well, what was it like then? You guys did come to Newfoundland, the Walleye, back in November. What was that like for you? I know you got your ring that week. I'm sure it was a lot going on. Still early in the season. Kind of sum it up. I'm sure you got some ribbing from your teammates. Kind of put it together, your trip to Newfoundland.
Yeah, it was a little weird. It was awkward in some areas. When I played for Newfoundland, Toledo came there. What would that have been? That would have been 3 times. I think in the Kelly Cup Finals, they came 2 times, right?
Yeah,
no,
we started.
They came 3. They came 3 times, and Toledo didn't win a single game, and then we went up there this year and we didn't win a game either. So
yeah, that's
Newfoundland's
true.
undefeated on the Rock against the Walleye. But it was certainly a special feeling to go back there and play at Mile One Center in front of a crowd that we won the Kelly Cup for. But at the same time, it's also a business, so I had to come with my game face on and ready to play. And I thought we played well, but we just fell short both games, unfortunately. But Newfoundland's a good team. John Snowden knows what he's doing, obviously, and we chatted for a bit about his team and mine, and kind of got the inside scoop on everybody. But yeah, it was a pretty special feeling. And like you said, I got my ring, so that was pretty neat to to get a hold of and see for the first time. I saw my teammates had it, a couple months before me, and they were bragging about
Were
it
you
and putting
trying
it
to
on
not
Twitter.
like
So it
peek
was
at the
pretty cool.
pictures online when I'm sure the boys posted? Were you like, no, I want to see it for myself?
Yeah, the pictures online didn't do it justice. I kind of wanted to slap it on and see my name and everything, and it was oh my god, the ring's
Unreal.
beautiful. I mean, you got it on, right? So
I
it's
do.
beautiful.
I do. I don't have any excuses not to wear it, so I had. It's basically Champions Night here on the stream, so we had to bust out all the hardware for you. I've got to ask you though, and I think I saw this question in the chat here too. Is last year's final something that you ended up having conversations about with some of the guys? I know, for example, a guy like Shane Burschbach, he's been in this league forever. He's such a good player. The guy deserves a championship. Let's be real. Is that something you ended up talking about? Like, were guys sour? Did they give you the gears about it? How did that go?
Oh yeah, it was more awkward in the beginning. The first person I
Sure.
met on Toledo actually was Pat Nagel.
Oh,
That was the first person I met, so that was kind of weird. I didn't know how that would go down, especially after first year
yeah.
pro. I don't know if grudges are being held or what
True.
goes on. But after talking throughout the year, you get more comfortable with guys. You can kind of open up to them, and it was funny to get the gears from Bursch and saying that the away locker room there is it's a tough battle at the Mile One Center and
Yeah.
stuff. So it was funny to hear the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, it was it was just funny to see the guys' reactions after last year's final.
No kidding. Well, I mean, I got to ask you in general, and already a bunch of similar questions like this coming from the fans here. I mean, coming back to Newfoundland, now that you get a chance to reflect back on, your one and done, leaving Newfoundland on top, what are you going to remember most about your time with the Growlers and your time in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador?
If we're being honest, there's nothing I won't remember. I mean, and I know it sounds so repetitive because everyone that plays there, like the new guys that played there this year, there's not a thing that you won't forget about St.
Yeah.
John's, Newfoundland. I mean, the everywhere that we played in the preseason, in the whole province of Newfoundland, in St. John's itself, the most friendly people you'll ever meet. The fans there are unbelievable. You get treated like royalty. The brotherhood that we created when we
Absolutely.
won, and everyone's so close. And I think that was a huge key in our success of winning it, is everyone was very close and
Yeah.
everyone was pushing for success with everyone. And I mean, just the George Street itself, the parade at the
Yeah.
end. I mean, just there isn't enough nice things to say about St. John's, and it'll go down in the history books as one of the best experiences of my life.
That's awesome, man. So glad to hear that. And I'm going to pick apart a few of those experiences here. I've got a list. I'm going to hone in on the finals here because that's what we're all going to remember. That's what you're going down in history for, as a Newfoundland legend here. But I'm going to pick apart. We're going to go through game by game for the next few minutes, and I want to pick your brain on some of these moments that have now been etched in time, if you will. So obviously, let me look at my list here. Game one, that's an easy one for you. Obviously, it was not only did it kick off the first finals appearance for the Growlers, but you scored the game-winning goal that game. Kind of what do you remember about game one? I remember the fans were on top of us, Mile One and St. John's. Everyone was locked in. You couldn't find a ticket to save your life. And then in game one and game two go to overtime. But in game one, kind of what do you remember specifically about that?
Jeez, game one was. That's one of those games that I'll be telling my kids about. I think game one, and I would like to hear other people's side and other people's opinion about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we didn't win game one, it's a different series. And
You're probably
the reason
right.
I say that is because we don't win game one, we go down 1-0. Let's just say for the sake of the argument, we win game two. We're 1-1 going in Toledo's barn, and they're a tough barn to play at.
Yep.
And it's tough to steal a game there. It's tough. So going and winning game one, I think it would have been a different series. Not saying we wouldn't have won, but it would have been different.
I agree. I agree 100%.
But game one was, like I said, it'll be one I'll tell my kids about. We went up. I think it was 3-0 going into the third. And
Yeah.
we thought it was over. We thought it was over. I thought we dominated for the most part. I actually
For
watched.
sure.
I think you guys tweeted it or something about a rewatch of it,
Yeah, that
or
was game
maybe.
6, not game 1 though. But yeah,
Oh, okay,
I
yeah,
actually watched
and
one this morning or not.
yeah, and so we watched it, and it was. I think we dominated, or at least had possession of it most time, and then they got a quick power play goal, and so we got deflated. They scored another one, a little bit more. So then we started to be a little anxious, and they scored another, and then just shortly over 5 minutes, I scored in overtime, and it was more of a sigh of relief than anything else. But it
What do
was.
you remember about the goal? Because I don't know if I've ever seen anyone skate as fast as you did down that left wing.
It was actually a run play by Snowy. He actually, I don't know if it was a TV timeout or if we took an actual timeout,
Huh.
but we had a play to win the draw and for Elnick to go hard to the boards and for me to just get on my horse and go to
Huh.
try and get some speed past the D. And I mean, it worked to a T. They rang it around to Elnick and he gave me a little backhand pass up the gut, and I just used my speed and tried to make a little under the stick move and get it on net, and it went over Nagel's shoulder. And I remember thinking I'll never have a better goal in my career than that.
I'm pretty sure you broke that pane of glass when you jumped into it too, because you.
I might have broke my body. I might have broke my body. It was I kind of blacked out after that.
Game 2 was real similar, but it was Scott Pooley getting the winner. I don't want to glaze over game 2, but I do want to move on to game 3. That would have been the first game in Toledo. Your first game in Toledo. What do you remember about that? Because I've been in that building a handful of times before, like in previous seasons, but that building was next level in game 3.
It was a surreal experience to be in that building for such an incredible fan base that has
Yeah.
so much passion for their players. And it was whiteout night, and obviously from everyone that was there, I didn't play game 3. I was sitting out for concussion
That's right.
protocol, so I was in the stands watching, and I remember thinking this place is just nuts. I mean, didn't even have seats reserved. You kind of had to go where you could find areas to watch the game, and it's a different atmosphere in Toledo, and I experienced it thoroughly this year playing in front of my home crowd. But it's a different type of atmosphere, and we came out, and I think actually Ellie got the first goal, maybe.
That's
And
right. Yeah, a little drop feed, I think, from Plouffer, and he just
correct,
rolled it
yeah.
in there.
I think he got the first one, and then unfortunately they took it to us the rest of that game. They took advantage of their home ice, and but I still think we played well. But as a whole, I think this comes back to our conversation earlier. I think if we won game 3, I think it would have been a sweep. That's what I think. I don't know. We'll never know, but I think if we would have won game 3, it would have been a sweep. But they ended up taking it to us, so then we had to play game 5 and 6, and then ultimately a little bit later. So
Well, game 4 in Toledo, that was the only road for either team in that series. The moment that a lot of people have gravitated to in that game was Darian Plouffe blocking those 3 huge shots. I know you roll your eyes because you were the one who was in the penalty box on that penalty kill.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that and watching from the penalty box a little fellow like Darian Plouffe just eat 3 clappers from Matt Register? Like, what was your reaction in that kind of 2-3 minutes?
Oh, it was a lot of emotions were going through my head. One was just I felt horrible because I'm the one in the penalty box, pain free. He's the one eating these off the shin and the knee and the boot, and he's oh my gosh, you want to talk about a team player? Just an absolute team guy. And I played against him this year when he played for Indy.
That's right.
And he was same thing. He would do anything for his team. So, and then at that same moment, I'm thinking this is what it takes to win. And sure enough, he blocked those 3 shots, and for all we know, one of those could have gone in from the point because Register seems to find the net when he's up there.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And yep, and Toledo's power play in the playoffs was something like excellent. 28% or something. It was something crazy. So that. It was a turning point in that game for us and for Darian. So if he didn't block those shots, it could have been a tie game, and then we go to overtime, and it could have been a different story.
Hard to believe that was such a tight series, man. And again, I don't want to. Game 5 was another close one, but the Walleye fans really carried the team to an emotional win. They knew that was going to be the last game of their season at the Huntington Center. That sent it back home to Mile 1 for Game 6. A goal and an assist in that final game for yourself. What do you remember? Just sum up that game in general, because I knew when we got off the plane at St. John's Airport, and you remember all the fans were at the bottom of the at the airport to greet the team. That was kind of that moment that I knew I don't think the Growlers are going to lose another game here. Just what was your take heading back home after Game 5 for what ended up being just one more?
It was relief, but at the same time, we wanted to win it there. We wanted the series over with. Obviously, you want to win as few as possible, but then it was a sigh of relief when we got to come back to the Rock and play them where we obviously play so well.
Yeah.
But if we're being honest, I don't remember. Like I can tell you, play by plays of all the other games, and the one that means the most, and the one we won it. I can't tell you. I don't remember goals. I don't remember. I remember the main thing I remember is once again being up. I think 3-1 or 4-1, something like that.
4-1.
Yeah, 4-1, and them coming back and getting to 4-3 with like 5 minutes left. And I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is a rerun of Game 1." And we held them. And the last thing I remember before blacking out over the celebration was O'Brien, Zach, laying out in the final seconds to block the shot from the point, and then we all crashed the ice, throwing our gear in the air, and it's history from there.
You don't remember the goal that you would have scored? Because it was a little bit controversial because Ellenuk was kind of cutting through the crease and you were crashing the net. You have no recollection?
I remember, once again, scoring it, and I remember thinking it was a garbage goal. It wasn't like a snipe. It wasn't a...
Oh, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, it was just a scrum goal, but I don't remember. I really don't. I don't remember how it happened. I remember every other game but Game 6, which is the one that means the most, right? So it's weird. I don't know how that works.
And what about the rest of it from there? I mean, there was the parade and all that fan support and all the parties and all the fun the next couple of days. They've got to be some of the best days of your life looking back on them.
My gosh, I remember going to the locker room after we won it and going to grab my phone. I FaceTimed my parents on the ice, and so
That's
I was
awesome.
talking to them and just I don't know. It was a lot of emotions going through my head. Like, this is, the best time of my life. I've never won anything so prestigious like this. And,
right.
And, it's also sad that it's over. So now,
I know.
the future is, it's unknown right now. And so it was, a lot of things were going on at that time, but those next week or week and a half of celebrating with my teammates in the Kelly Cup on George Street was some of the best times of my life. And those will never ever go away. Best times I'll never forget.
We'll get to a couple of Q&A questions from those of you too. So now's your last chance to get a few questions for Josh as we get to one here from Aiden Foley. He asks, and I should have run this one by you. Do you know where you're playing next year? And if it's with the Walleye, are you excited for the Winterfest? Because I know that there's an outdoor game coming up for Toledo this year. But maybe the first part of the question there, is it back to Grand Rapids and Toledo, or is that still up in the air for yourself?
As of right now, it's up in the air because it's so early. Usually when we're playing, as you mentioned off stream, this would be Game 3 of the first round or something. So
actually, I looked. This time last year was Game 3 today in Growler's history when Zach O'Brien scored in double overtime to take a 3-0 series lead in Brampton. So anyway, that's my little interjection. Please continue.
But yeah, it's so early because we're still playing and technically I'm under contract until June,
right.
May or June. So you kind of got to play the waiting game.
For sure.
But as of right now, it's up in the air where I'm going to play and what I'm going to do. So I don't have a definite answer for that. There's certain things that I'm looking for and certain offers that I would like going next season, but As of where I'm playing, I don't know yet. So
No, for sure. And hey, I'm sure a lot of people radar here after MVP season, but Aiden Foley says we'd love to have you back. If you, I don't think we ever did take you hunting here on the Rock. I think we owe you a hunting trip, don't we?
Yeah, what Raj owes me a hunting trip. That guy, man, he owes me one. That's for sure.
What do you remember about Raj? What? Give me a favorite Raj moments. I would love. I'm sure would love to hear that.
Favorite Roger moment would probably be I met him after, because this was at the beginning of the year when not a lot of the boys had their cars yet.
Right.
So we were taking cabs to the rink and stuff, and finally we got a shuttle service from Raj. And during that time, I had just met him, and he picked me up from Elizabeth Towers in his minivan. And I remember thinking, this is super nice of him. I can't believe, he did this for us. And oh my gosh, by the time we got to the rink, everyone's heart skipped a beat, because he's driving all over the map. He's swearing at people on the way. So that was probably my favorite memory of Raj, was the first time I met him. The guy's a loose cannon on the road, but he means well, and he's a great guy. And like I said, he owes me a
Yeah, I know. He definitely owes you a trip. And we've got our own Dean McDonald here in the chat saying, John, for a class act and a big part of our history. And no better way to, I guess, end off your segment with a big thank you from all of us. Josh Kestner of your Newfoundland Growlers, I guess now of the Toledo Walleye. Who knows where he's going to be next season? All onwards and upwards for you. It's been a pleasure having you on again here this evening. And all the best moving forward. Let's stay in touch for sure.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. So, folks, we're going to take a very short break to tee up our next guest, Riley Woods, rookie extraordinaire for your Growlers. So we're going to take a brief break to get that set up on the technical side of things, and we'll be right back. back. Thank you, folks, for sticking around with us while we teed up our second and final guest of the evening. We're ending off with a heavy hitter here, calling from his home in Regina, Saskatchewan. Please welcome Growler's rookie extraordinaire. Ended the year as a member of the Toronto Marlies. We've got Riley Woods in the house. Riley, thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So I got to ask, what's been keeping you busy? How have you been holding up, I guess, the last few weeks since this whole pandemic hit?
I think I'm starting to go a little bit crazy, but I'm still hanging in there. No, I bought a guitar last year and finally started to pick it up and started to play a few songs here, so that's been keeping me busy. No, I guess video games is a huge part of my life right now, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and stuff like that. So, and my family's here, so they've been keeping me company as well. So.
That's great. So, I mean, I kind of want to jump right in. So you weren't with the Growlers when this whole pandemic thing hit. I'm just kind of curious what the situation was like, and if you could share the story of when the season ended for you, because all of us with the Growlers, we were all in Brampton waiting for a bus to go to Kalamazoo. That bus, we never left and just flew the hell home. So I'm just curious where you were kind of when this all went down and your reaction to all that.
I was actually up with the Marlies. We were up in Bridgeport. We just played there. We were back at the hotel. We played there. We slept overnight in the hotel, and then we were supposed to wake up at 10:30 for an 11 o'clock bus. So, and then that didn't happen, and they postponed us back till 1 o'clock. We were still in the hotel wondering what was going to happen. And then finally we got an email from Mike Dixon saying that we have to hop on the bus and go all the way back to Toronto. So we were all the way up there, and we had a 10-hour bus all the way back to Toronto, and then we went straight back to the hotel for a week and didn't leave there for a whole week. And then
when you got back, you just were quarantined in a hotel, like nothing.
Yeah, we
no
were
way.
in a hotel, no nothing. We had to get supper every night for ourselves, which was getting kind of harder with restaurants and stuff closing. And that's when Mike Dixon said we could head home. So here I am.
Wild. So, I mean, let's take a look back at your season in Newfoundland. First, I'm just curious, what was your first reaction when you got to the Rock to play your first games? And what are you going to remember most, you think, about your time in the greatest province in Canada?
I was not too sure what to think at first. I know the boys were all talking it up how great it was last year. So I was nervous, but I was also really excited. And no, I think I wasn't disappointed when I got my first game in there in Newfoundland, and I scored my first goal there. So that was actually a night to remember. So no, it was nothing but great things. The biggest thing I'll probably take from St. John's was the fans. They were amazing. They were great. Also, George Street was awesome when the boys went out and everything. So. No, I think it was great to play there for as long as I was there, and hopefully I'll be able to go back to St. John's.
Well, we hope so too. We wouldn't be opposed. Now, I pulled a few moments here from your year, and we're going to get your take on them. And you almost stole the first one right out of my mouth. First goal in your first game. That was a wild game. I look back on the highlights of that opening game this morning. You had, I believe, the banner raising. You got to watch that. Then I think, 3 or 4 to nothing? And then Reading came back and ended up winning the whole damn thing in regulation. You did score your first goal in the middle of that melee. What do you remember about your first game as a Growler?
It felt a lot faster. You know, the guys were bigger, they were stronger. I was nervous for sure. But as soon as I got that first goal, my confidence boosted. I felt really good out there, and I started to set in really nice.
Yeah, no kidding. And what do you remember most about that first goal? If I remember, it was a pass kind of out of the corner. You were cutting into the net. I don't know how long the puck was on your stick, but it wasn't long.
Yeah, no, I think Colt Conrad actually had it up the right side, then passed it to Gio in the middle, and then Gio kind of slid it across over, and I went 5-hole. So I remember it.
Classic Woodsy move. I'm curious what you remember. We're going to go, I guess this will end up being one of your last games of the season as a Growler. That 5-point night in Adirondack. A 7-4 game, again, a really weird one, but you had 5 points. That ended up being a franchise record, tied with Conrad, and Braz, I believe, had a 5-point night himself. But what do you remember about that night? 7-4, we allowed 3 shorthanded goals against a real weird night, but you couldn't miss that night.
Yeah, it was crazy. No, it felt like the puck just came on my stick and kept going in, or it kept making a play. So It was pretty crazy. No, I think Brazo and the Bradley line that I was playing with that night were really clicking. So no, it was a memorable night, and I think I'll never forget it.
Talk about those line mates a bit that you played with, because I know this was a really tight team. I know you guys got along super well. I'm talking about yourself, Trey Bradley, Justin Brazo. We'll get to Todd Skirving in a little bit. But just, I mean, that's kind of a rare thing, Woodsy, to come into your first year on a brand new team, isolated on this island in the middle of the darn ocean, but at the same time, coming together as quickly and as well as you guys did. Kind of, where did that come from in your mind?
I guess it was kind of at the beginning of the year and back in Toronto. We were in Toronto a month before even the season started, and
Yeah.
you really get to know guys. So actually, me and Trey roomed together for probably 3 weeks before the season actually started.
That's
Up
right.
in Toronto, and then Brazzy was with Colt Conrad, so we kind of got to mesh a little bit up there. And then once we ended up on the same team, things just kept clicking. And then Todd Skirving came into the picture, and we created a big happy family. So
let's get to that. So I think you were actually, you might remember, I think we were in Worcester and we got Skirvs to do the kind of post-practice interviews. We were out of ideas. Skirvs was gung-ho about it. And then I think you were the one who let it drop that I think you called him Dad. And we had never talked about it before, the whole family thing that yourself and Trey and Skirvs. So before we get really into that, I want to ask, what was your first impression of Todd Skirving? When did you first meet Skirvs? Because he's a unique cat. He's the kind of guy you know his presence right away. What was your first impression of the legend Todd Skirving?
I actually thought he was a really funny guy. No, he's really energetic. He was at Marley's camp. I didn't really talk to him that much, but once I got on the rock, you start to get to know him a little bit better, and he loves Newfoundland. So
Yes, he does.
he has all the ins and outs of St. John's, and you really get to know him because he's always talking. So
that's a fact. How did the whole family thing come about? Like, I'm real tight with my buddies. We don't call each other family. How did that turn into a family for you guys?
I think Todd Skirving came up with it. So me, Bradley, and Trey usually hang out a lot in St. John's. So it was a big thing that we were kind of his kids, and he was the older guy, so he was our dad. So I think we made a pretty good thing out of it, and it's pretty funny to talk about.
Do you guys keep up now in the off season? Is the group chat still going, I guess?
Oh yeah, the group chat's going. We have one with me, Todd, Brazzy, and Trey. So it's pretty
Just
good. We like to talk every day, and I know still keep in touch. So
no, that's cool. So I did notice there was a question here in the Twitch chat. If any of you have any questions for Riley Woods, now would be the time to get them in here. Let's see. Tom J123 asks, what's maybe the plan for next season? Talk about your experience, I guess, with this organization, and what are you looking forward to maybe for next year?
I'm not too sure what's going to happen next season. It's still up in the air with this whole COVID thing going on.
Sure.
So teams are still trying to decide what's going on with this year still. So I'm not too sure what's going to happen next year. Hopefully I'm back with Toronto's organization, because I have nothing but good things to say about Newfoundland and the Marlies. So hopefully I'll be back next year.
Hope so indeed. Another one asks here, why don't you cut your hair? I think that's a rude question, but hey, we're gonna ask it. This is for the fans.
I've been growing it out because all the haircut places are
Me too.
down. I don't trust my mom or my brother to cut my hair, so I'm growing it out right now.
M Stacy 43 asks, Riley, who's your favorite brother? And someone's trying to pitch you against the family here.
Oh, I don't know if I should say anything on here. They might be watching me right now, but it goes back and forth between both of them. They're both great guys. I love talking to them both. They're both hilarious. We all get each other, and I think I talk to Brazzy a lot more than I talk to Trey. Trey's been kind of being far. He won't text or something. So, I'm starting to lean more towards Brazzy right now.
That works for me. Tom J asks, any of you guys play video games each other? Do you guys play Call of Duty together still?
Oh yeah, we play Call of Duty. Right? We play almost every second night because we got nothing else better to do. So we like to hop on Warzone and stuff and play Call of Duty. So yeah.
Nice. Who's the best and worst player that you play with? Because everyone loves throwing guys under the bus.
I think Trey's really good at Call of Duty. He got it all figured out. But I think the worst player would be Brazzy. Probably be the worst player of all three of us, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we've got a Woodsy fan in the house asking, what was your favorite about Toronto and playing with the You ended up with 8 games in. You had your first AHL goal in Binghamton there. Kind of sum up your time in Toronto with the Marlies.
It was great. I learned a lot. There was a lot more one-on-one development down there, so I learned a lot with tight corners and moving your feet down low and stuff like that. And I won't forget my first AHL goal. It was amazing. Just playing my first A game at Scotiabank Arena was pretty crazy too. So
that was where you scored your goal. Was that Scotiabank?
No, that was my first AHL game.
Still cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I played there for my first game. We'll always remember that, and I'll never forget my first goal up in Binghamton. So.
Growler's owner, Dean McDonald, is here on the chat with us, and he asks the question, did you think the Growlers might repeat? So what did you think of the Growlers' chances, I guess, heading into, the home stretch here before the rug got ripped out from underneath us?
No, we had a great team. I fully believe that we were going to do it again this year. There was a team, there was a family in their dressing room each and every night. We had great defensive core, and I had a really good feeling that we were going to win this year, and it sucks to see it go out this way. So
it sure does. I know you were with the Marlies, but I mean, you don't have to answer this. But were you expecting to come back to St. John's and to Newfoundland at some point?
I think so. Yeah, the Marlies were starting to get a few more guys back from injury and stuff, and I was hoping that I was going to get back there just before playoffs to play a couple games before playoffs down there. So I was going to head back there after my stint there up with Toronto. So I was going to get excited to do another playoff run, but it got ended because of this whole thing. So.
And you were on an absolute heater before you got called up to the Marlies. In your last 6 games in a Growlers uniform, 6 goals, 6 assists. What do you remember about that stint in particular? If that ends up being your last games as a Growler, you certainly went out on fuego, my friend.
Yeah, it was great. I don't know what was happening there. I guess I was just playing some of the best hockey. I was playing with great teammates, like I said before, Justin and Trey. So it was great to end off, and I think that's what helped me get up to Toronto when I did. So.
I just got a text message here saying he can't get the chat to work, but Dad says hello.
Well, hello to you too, Todd.
I mean, now technology is always a little tough with the olds, so we'll give Dad a pass on this one. Now, folks, don't forget to get your sticks. Nope, I read get your sticks in. I read one of the words in the chat there. Get your questions in for Riley Woods. We're going to go and look at a couple of them here. One fella's asking for your stick specs. Do they have to order you intermediate sticks? This is rude. These are rude, hilarious questions. But hey, do you know what's your preferred flex, Woodsy?
I use 87 flex, so I don't know. I think they're way out of intermediate. I think they're in senior sticks now, so I'm not that small.
Yeah, and actually, I want to go back to your first AHL goal. You were, if I remember correctly, by a couple of Growlers and your junior teammate in Hudson Ellenuk, Christians Rubens and Ellenuk, I believe, were the guys who assisted on it. Kind of, what do you remember? What was it like playing with guys that clearly had won it here with us the year before, but that you still got to know as Marlies and a guy like Rubes this year?
Yeah, it was great. I got to know Ruby really well when I was up there too. And like I said before, I played with Hudson Ellenuk back in Spokane, so I knew him when I got there. But no, it was amazing. It was crazy. I got a pass from Rubens out of the left corner and kind of faked a shot and went post in, and I won't ever forget that goal for sure.
Braz1517 asks, who did you like playing with more, Trey or Braz?
They're just putting me on the spot right now is what they're doing.
This is what the fans want to know. We don't know who this person is.
Hey, just because I picked Brazzy for one of the better brothers, I'm gonna go with I like playing with Trey more than Brazzy right now. So he's a little bit more faster than Brazzy for sure.
I love it. Pit the fam against each other. Aiden
Yeah.
Foley asks, best and worst arenas or cities in the North Division? Do you have any? We got to travel a lot around to Worcester, Adirondack, Reading, Portland, Maine. Kind of what sticks out as maybe your favorite and least favorite in the division of the places we went a handful of times?
I think my least favorite to play in was Brampton. I know the fans weren't really great. You probably had about 300 to 400 people there, maybe a game, so it wasn't the greatest place to play. No offense to Brampton for
True.
sure, but
No disrespect.
yeah, I think the best place I like to play was in Maine. I think it was a pretty electric facility down there, and we seemed to always have pretty good games while we were down there. So I think that was my favorite place to play in the north. So.
There's someone here in the chat named Woodsy Fan 69 who's been asking all kinds of questions. Who has the worst Wi-Fi in? That's an inside joke of some kind. But hey, it was a Regina question, so I was going to ask it. But I have had.
We have pretty bad Wi-Fi here at home.
Really?
I don't know if that's my brother on there. I'm not too sure if it is or not. But yeah, we've been having problems with our Wi-Fi as of late, so we're trying to get it fixed up. But it seems to be working not too bad right now. So I'm gonna have to ask my brother about this later.
I think I'm gonna have to screen some of these questions for next episode. D-Sky Ty asks, is the RPG the best weapon in COD?
To him it is, because he loves to use it all the time. So I don't think it's the best gun for sure, but I like using the M4A1 for all you Call of Duty fans out there. So
there you go. That's Woodsy's weapon of choice. D-Sky Ty also asks thoughts on cookies and cream chocolate bar. I don't know. These must be inside jokes. So someone's getting some enjoyment because I am completely out of the loop here.
Yeah, this is my buddy talking on there, so that's pretty funny. That's some of my favorite ice cream, so I like to eat that every now and then. So I think that's why he's saying it in there.
Let's see if we got any more questions in here for you. Ryan H26 asked, is there a difference between using the new Warrior gear with the Growlers and CCM with the Marlies? I think that's a good question. Do you notice, are you a gear geek? Do you notice a difference, or is it just, this is my helmet, these are my gloves, it's time to go to work?
Yeah, there was a huge difference. I love CCM way better than I do Warrior, so it was kind of nice to use the CCM equipment while I was up there.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of style and stuff, and looking good on the ice, look good, feel good, you play good. So I love CCM way better than I like Warrior, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, no disrespect to the Warrior as a league sponsor of the ECHL.
Yeah.
Just a difference from Riley Woods, making sure you're not going to get us kicked off here.
Yeah.
Who else we got here? A lot of inside jokes, I think, here. A lot of questions I don't know the answers to. Someone's asking, why did you buy a motorcycle? Did you buy a motorcycle? Is that a real thing?
I bought one 2 years ago. I have a Kawasaki Ninja crotch rocket.
Okay.
So, that's I have at home for my toys for the summer, and so yeah, that's what I have. My motorcycle license. I got it 2 years ago, and I've always wanted to drive one. So here I am.
Hey, that's cool. Hopefully you get a chance to get out there and buzz around a little bit. Aiden Foley's got another question. Have you played in an arena with a weirder setup than the Marlies home arena? Because it is kind of a neat older barn. You have to go up and then down a little hump of steps to get out onto the ice. It's a little funky in there.
Yeah.
What's your take on their room, kind of getting from the dressing room to the ice in Rico, or what Coca-Cola Coliseum it's called now? What's your take?
Yeah. I actually didn't mind it. No, the Marlies have
I love that
facility
building.
and a great room down there. But it's not actually too bad, because you kind of walk down the aisle and have like people on each side of you when you walk in between periods and stuff like that. And the stairs aren't too bad. Kind of get your legs going before you get on the ice, so it wasn't too bad. Yeah.
Growler's guy asks, did you get to travel outside of St. John's at all? And what were maybe some of your favorite spots? So if you didn't get outside St. John's, where were some maybe your favorite spots in town?
I didn't actually get around outside of St. John's, but in St. John's we went on a few hikes. I went up to Signal Hill there, which was pretty cool, and also Cape Spear, which is yeah, those were one of the biggest points of interest for me, that I actually did do some traveling in St. John's when we weren't playing hockey. So yeah.
Maybe you can clue us up with this one here. There have been some hot takes on the best sushi on the island here. What's your pick? I know you guys are sushi geeks. Where's your favorite feed of sushi in St. John's?
I think the biggest place, or the most common place that we went to, was Sushi Island. That was the biggest one that the boys usually went to when we all got together to go for lunch or something like that. So yeah, but when we're on the road, usually me and Trey like to find the nearest sushi place to go for supper or something like that. So yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Nice. Did you ever end up getting a feed of Jig's dinner? Asks 12 Growler. Because I think on the podcast, you had not yet had the chance to experience a traditional Jig's dinner. I don't even know if you remember the look on your face. I look like a deer caught in the headlights here. I'm going to take that as a no. You have not had Jig's dinner.
No, I haven't. I've only been screeched in, but I haven't had Jig's dinner for sure.
All right. Well, maybe if and when we ever see you back here, we'll have to cook up a feed of Jig. Last call for questions for Riley Wood says, we clue up here tonight's chat on the Growler Hour here, brought to you by Molson and Coors. And Woodsy, at what point do you try and have you been working out this whole time? What do you do to keep active? When do you try and do you have a home gym? Or is that kind of far from your mind at this stage of the game in terms of trying to prep for next season? Kind of what have you been up to keep busy and fit, I guess?
Yeah, the Marlies have been sending me kind of mandatory workouts for at home. They have it's called a Bridge Athletics app, and we get a whole bunch of workouts each week. So Monday through Friday, we have a workout to do at home that we can do either right in front of our street or even downstairs in our basement. I got a few weights and stuff that I use for down there for exercise and stuff like that, and anything to really do, maybe go for a run here and there, but it's mostly all at home. You do it with what you got, and go from there. So
Aiden Foley wants us to go back to your getting screeched in. What was your reaction to that whole song and dance?
I actually thought it was really well done. I forget the guy's name that did it, but I know he had the whole yellow hat on, the raincoat and stuff like that, and no, you had to kiss the fish and eat that bologna. So it wasn't bad. I like bologna, so it wasn't bad. I know a few of the other guys hated it. I think Brazzy hated it. So
what's to hate about bologna?
Yeah, and the shot wasn't too bad either. So it was fun. It was good.
It's good for you. A couple of guys are asking about your golf game. Do you consider yourself a good golfer?
I'm not the best golfer by any means. I like to get out there with the guys every now and then, and my buddy's back home here. So I actually don't have a driver right now, but because I threw that in the creek last year at the end of the golfing season because I wasn't having a very good game, and I got to buy one before I can go golfing. So.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
As much as I would love to get to what is seemingly all of the in the chat, it looks like all your buddies have found us here, Woodsy. I do think it might be time to say goodbye here for the evening. So, Riley Woods, thank you so much for joining us. Congrats on a heck of a season with us and with the Toronto Marlies, and all the best moving forward. Next time you come to town, Jig's dinner's on me, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, pal. Riley Woods, folks, of the Newfoundland Growler. And, I think that's going to do it here for the first ever episode of the Growler Hour. Thank you all again so much for joining us. Special thanks to Josh Kestner, to Riley Woods, to John back at headquarters, making sure we're all up and online and looking spiffy. Well done. To Kenny O'Leary, thank you to our sponsor, Molson Coors, for helping make this a possibility here for us all. And to all of you who joined us here tonight. Don't forget, next week we've got Justin Brazo and Marcus Power coming on the show. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. And don't forget, if you haven't already, check out the new Regiment Gold season ticket packages available for next season already. It's a really great package. You get your own jersey, all kinds of added perks. The best season ticket package maybe in the ECHL. I think that's it. So thank you all very much again for joining us. Make sure you give us a follow on this platform so we can unlock all the features or whatever that come with it. Clearly, I am not on the up and up with everything that happens on Twitch. But in any case, folks, thank you all again so much. We'll back next Thursday, right back here again. Same Growler time, same Growler channel right here on Twitch. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.